Hello and good morning to everyone. Today is the 29th day of the month of Tammuz, and it's the 27th day of the month of July. And we are currently going to read page 25, bottom 25 in our book, The Four Worlds. We are in the midst of discussing, the Rebbe had established already, this is the sixth Rebbe of Lubavitch, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak of Lubavitch, who passed away in Brooklyn in 1950. The Rebbe has established that even in the spiritual world, there are changes, there are differences in different places, despite the fact that you would think that there is no space. Can you close the fridge, please?
Yes, in a minute.
Despite the fact that you may think that there should be no space in a place where there is no space. Spirit doesn't take up space, physical space, the way we know it. A spirit is a spirit. So why would there be space? Nevertheless, we find different areas, different levels. It has to do with the energy that is coming from God to create this world, where it has to go through certain filters, certain stops, in order for it to be augmented in a way that this world should be able to receive it. That's what we've been up to. We did start and finish this chapter, this paragraph, but I want to just go through it quickly as a reminder. It will be the best reminder. So, the bottom of page 24, he established in the introduction that there are four worlds based on the four letters of God's name. Page 25, which, yes, 25, 24, will be here. Page 24. There are four worlds based on the four letters of God. There are really millions of different levels, but generalizing, it comes to four worlds. And the name of the first world is Atzilut, or if you were learning it in the book, it would be Atzilus. It's like Shabbat and Shabbos. The modern day Hebrew way of saying Shabbos is Shabbat, but in reality, that letter, which is at the end of the Ba, Shabbat, that letter is a Taf. And if it has a dot, then it's like Torah. But if it doesn't have a dot, like the word Shabbos, then it should be read Shabbos,
so
not
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Hebrew got changed.
Modern Hebrew changed it to a Sephardi, which was also to a Sephardi Moroccan kind of way, not a Sephardi Yemenite or some other. And it's really, I would say, flawed, because it doesn't have if it has a dot, then it's everybody agrees with that. But if it doesn't have a dot, then the letter doesn't seem to change in modern day Hebrew. But we don't read it that way. Certainly the way Ashkenazi read it is Shabbos and Atzilus. So we pronounce the Taf without the dot as a Saf, similar to a Samach and similar to a Sin, which is, by the way, also a little strange. It should be something different, but it certainly shouldn't be like the Taf with the dot. So it's Atzilut or Atzilus or Neshamas, and so on, So Atzilut or Atzilus, the bottom of the page, the first of the four worlds is called Atzilut. Now, although it is a world that is structured with chambers, that means that world has different levels within the world itself. What are the chambers? The chariot, and we went through these footnotes all about this. This took us 2 or 3 weeks just to go through the footnotes here. The chariot, which is the ultimate source. Just very, very briefly, the prophet Yechezkel, the prophet Ezekiel, begins his book by describing that he was on a river and he was opened, the heavens were opened up for him, and he saw the chariot of God, and on the chariot were different faces. He saw the face of an eagle, the face of a lion, the face of a bull, and the face of a human, and that was a chariot, and on top of this chariot was like this throne, and it seemed like a human being sitting on it. Basically, he was showing the essence of the world and the source of everything. So you had the source of the birds, the source of the animals, the source of the beasts were all in this, and the source of humans, which are the four main elements of this world. The fish, of course, are hidden from us, and the rest of the creatures and stuff in this world is all after that, lower than that. And so he saw how the essence works. you got a human, then under the human you got another face of a human, which for a different time, and then you got the animals and so on. So he saw the essence, the ultimate, deepest element of the world. Then he saw, after the chariot, the 10 Sephirot meaning 10 stages of God's energy coming through this world. He saw this. And not he saw this. That's what is in this world. Lights and vessels. Lights are the energy. Vessels are what contains the energy. So he uses the metaphor of light and vessel. So you would say laser and the light. The light that goes into the laser, and then the laser that is the vessel to direct the light, to focus the light, to augment the light. It should go in this way, not in that way, in that direction, not in this direction. That's the vessel around the energy. Energy would be the light. The vessel would be to take that light. That's an example of the energies of God that come into this world, and the vessels that can contain this energy and perhaps even change this energy. Then there's intellect and emotions, all in this world. There's intellect, and then the emotions that follow the intellect. Then page 26, the light of Chokhmah. Chokhmah means wisdom. In the vessel of Chokhmah, to contain this wisdom. If you look at footnote number 20, Chokhmah is in the process of creation, may be loosely defined as a seminal, highly condensed revelation of godly light on its highest level of immanence, that is the life force of all creation. That's the beginning spot, the beginning point of the actual creation, not the potential, not the desire, not the thought, but the actual beginning of the process.
Like the pilot light on a stove.
Okay, that's a good idea. It's a good example, a little point, right? Okay, then back into the up in the top line, in the vessel of Chokhmah, and the light of Chesed in the vessel of Chesed. Chesed is called kindness. And if you look in footnote number 21, which is on page 27, Chesed, the third trait, is the attribute or disposition that underlies the creation. That means, in other words, that inspires the creation to bring about recipients for the divine benevolence. As in Psalms, the world was built by Chesed. Now, Chesed means kindness. The whole purpose of creation, the reason for creation, is because God is the ultimate of kindness, the epitome of kindness, which is what Psalm is saying. Psalm says that everything in this world works with kindness. We went through this a few weeks ago, just very briefly now again. Kindness is to give. When you have a God who has so much to give, he wants to create that which can receive this goodness. And he pushes the envelope about as far as you can go, which is this world, as low as you can go. This is this world. So the whole world is built on a level that God wants to give of his energy to create this world. But it's even deeper than this. The first Rebbe of Chabad, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, says in the Tanya, in his seminal work called the Tanya, that if you pay attention to this world, everything in this world, in the physical world, leads toward that direction. You have earth, which is the lowest form of all. That is the basket. That is the vessel that holds everything. The vessel that holds everything is the earth. And what does it hold? It holds all the rocks. It holds all the water. It holds all the vegetation. And in fact, the vegetation receives its strength and its ability to grow from the ground, and it gives back to the ground, because vegetation helps the ground. It draws the right type of minerals and the right type of insects to the earth, and so on. And then when the vegetation is dead, like the leaves and the trees, they go back to the earth and they give the minerals right back to the earth, strengthening the earth. Then you have the creatures that dwell in the vegetation or in the earth and in the vegetation, and they benefit from the vegetation, but they also benefit the vegetation. They benefit to the vegetation. They give to the vegetation. So you have the monkeys, for example, that eat certain fruits and drop certain seeds, and then it grows. So they do the work, or the bees that pollinate, or the butterflies, or whatever it might be, that go around and help the vegetation. And then you have those that eat only grass or hay and stuff like that. And then you have the bigger animals that take from and they give back too. And then you have the humans that are supposed to again take from all three and give back. Our job is to protect, to guard, to preserve the earth. So ultimately, everything is giving to everyone else. The way God set up this world is that we need to eat and we need to nourish, not just we, any living thing needs nourishment that's coming from somewhere that is ultimately rooted in the earth and ultimately gives back to the earth. In fact, the human being, it says God says to Adam after he eats from the tree, he says, you are created from earth, from dust you came, and to dust you will return. Even that is giving back to the earth in a certain way. So the whole world was created with a giving attitude. We all need to give. We all need to be kind to each other, to the species. We need to, and to the earth. It's all a give. The whole world was founded on giving. So that's what kindness means. That's why kindness is such a paragon of Judaism, and it's the most important element that you can have, because kindness is what happened, how the world came about, why God created the world, and what God wants out of this world. He wants everyone to be able to give in their own way. Okay? Creation, therefore, back to the 21. Creation, therefore, is an act of chesed, act of kindness. And it is from this attribute that the divine life force that animates all creation issues forth. So, we have in this world, the highest world, the world of Atzilut, or Atzilus. This world has within it the chambers and the chariot and the ups and the downs and the kindness and the wisdom. It has everything in it, in this world. Let's just go back now to page 26. In the actual text, and we're at the what do you call it? The line here, the dash. Okay, vessel chesed. It is called Atzilut. The world is called this world, the highest world, is called Atzilut for two reasons. There are two reasons why this world is called Atzilut. Atzilut connotes emanation and separation. Interesting, because emanation means to give something to, something that emanates from you, that comes out of you. But yet it's called separation. Because when you give something out of you, despite the fact that it might still be connected to you, but it's out of you, separated from you. Look at the sun. So the light that comes out of the sun, the light that comes from the sun, the shine, the radiance that is produced by the sun is not the sun. Because if it was the sun, we wouldn't be able to benefit from that radiance. It's so warm outside, it's light outside, it's hot outside. It's because we are able to get the warmth of the sun to this world in the way it comes. If it would be 50 degrees warmer, there would be nothing left here. So the sun wouldn't be of any benefit to this world. So the sun that shines is not, the shine that comes out of the sun is an emanence from the sun, but it's not the sun. So, Atzilut connotes emanation and separation. So it's an eminence, but it's also separate. We need a...
Okay, just give me that now. I'll find it.
All right, well, here's the two.
Oh, one of them's mine.
Oh.
That's all right.
Here's the one back.
We can find another one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, the first reason why Atzilus is called that is because it connotes emanation and separation. For Atzilut is not like a new being that comes into existence through the creation of something from nothing. When a new being means something that was not here before. If you think about ourselves, we sometimes call ourselves creators because we are very creative or we can create something. Reality, though, we don't create anything because there's nothing in this world that we create. Nothing. We cannot possibly create. Now, what is creation? Creation, in the Hebrew term, the word bara, the second word of the Torah. First word is bereishit, which means in the beginning, in the Genesis. The second word of the Torah is bara. Bara means to create. That's how we translate it in English. But really, in Hebrew, and he's going to mention this in a minute, in Hebrew, the word for creation means and connotes something that was not here before. That means it came from nothing. Now, first of all, we cannot create something from nothing. Whatever we create in this world was here before. We're only creating something with tools and with ingredients that are present in this world. For example, if you want to create a table, you're not creating a table. You're just taking pieces of wood and metal and turning them, changing them around into the shape of a table. But you're not creating the table. You are, per se. I mean, if you want to get semantic here, you're not creating it. You're forming it. Because you already have the material. You're not creating the material, you're just changing around. You create a painting, for example. You're not creating anything, you're just taking ink on a paper and changing the ink from this way to that way. And that, of course, is beautiful, and that's how a lot of people make money and fame, but that's not a creation per se. It's taking ingredients that are present in this world and moving them around and showing them in a different way than they were before.
How about a human being?
There are previous elements that create that human being, that make that human being, that begin the human being. It's not from nothing. It's almost from nothing because you can hardly see it with a naked eye. But bottom line is, there is things that are working there. Or, I thought you would say music, because music, yeah, but the music isn't really a creation. It's not tangible. You can't touch it. It's something that you hear. You can't.
Create ideas.
You can, yeah, but again, when it says bara, create, it means that you have something in your hand from nothing. Non-tangible things are not really created.
Something like sound waves or...
You can create sound waves from everything, right? Is that considered a creation? A sound wave, which is also not tangible? See, something that you can't touch, what kind of creation is it? The word bara, to create in Hebrew, means that there was nothing here before and now there is something. In fact, we don't even comprehend what nothing is. There is no nothing in this world. There is no nothing in the entire universe. It's either space, which is not nothing, it's space. It's a whole. Nothing. Nothing. So it's something. Nothing means that it's absolute nothing. You can't define it. How do you define something that you can't define? You can't. I've mentioned this before. When I was 17 years old and I was studying one of these very deep Hasidic, esoteric presentations, and I went to my teacher, who was a very big, famous, very knowledgeable in this whole world, till today. And this is going back now 30-something years. And I asked him this question. I said, what is nothing? He said, nothing is nothing. I said, how do you define it? He said, you can't define nothing. This is all in Yiddish. So I said to him, let me ask you something. If I got to the end of the universe, wherever that is, or whatever that is, and I'm just traveling there, what am I seeing ahead of me? I'm at the end. He says, you're seeing nothing. I said, how do you understand it? He says, I didn't tell you have to understand it. Because we can't, because everything in this world is something. Everything in this universe, it's a physical space, it's a physical person, it's a physical planet. There's something physical, tangible there. That's bara. God, there was nothing, which we can't define, and from this nothingness, God created something. Bara. That's what creation really means in its essential meaning of the word. And that means that there's something tangible, whether it's an empty space or a filled space or something, or an object or an article. We can't really create a tangible thing because we don't have nothing, and we don't have the ability to create something from nothing either. So, when you say, let's read this again on page 26, number 1. For Atzilut is not like a new being, that comes into existence through the creation of something from nothing. It's not like a brand new thing. Oh, here's a new world all of a sudden. It's a brand new creation. Rather, it is only a revelation of the concealed. Something was hidden within godliness, within the radiance, within the shine that comes out of God. Something was concealed there. And somehow it created this world that now became revealed. Not created as in created, but in a reveal. Do you have the right page?
It might be in the back. That's 25.
25.
Some of the pages have gotten, I think, on some of the sheets have gotten mixed up.
It's probably over there.
It's
The
probably
back.
27, 25.
27 is good.
27.
27 is where we are.
Okay.
Okay, so that's not the first reason why Atzilut is called the word Atzilut, because Atzilut means emanation, which means it's not created from nothing, it's just a revelation of something. And also it's separation, because now it is a world, so it looks like an entity on its own kind of thing, not quite, it's not like quite God anymore. God is no world, there's no compartments and wisdom and kindness and this and that, which is defined in God. It's all godly. Here's the first stage or the first.
So, is God nothing?
You can say God is cannot be defined as anything. So, but when you call it nothing, when you call the entity, the essence of God, a nothingness, the truth is he is the everything, because everything comes from him. So even though it doesn't look like God, but it all emanates from God ultimately. So therefore, he's the ultimate something which cannot be defined.
So where did he come from?
See, that's only a question that pertains to the way the rules of this world works, that there's a beginning and an end. But when you're looking in the spiritual world, where there is no beginning or end, that's not a real question. That's a question that we can ask over here, we'll never get it. We'll never understand it, because we have no real understanding in the whole spiritual world. What do you mean there's no beginning? How does a thing exist without a beginning? Like, it doesn't make any sense in our physical mind, our limited intelligence. Only a soul, before coming down to this world, or after leaving this world, when it goes back to the spiritual world, wherein there is no beginning or end, where they actually remove the physical confines of the body, so then the mind opens up in just an unbelievable way. Not the mind as in brain, but the mind of the soul. It opens up completely to that world, because here in this world we are limited to what the capacity of the brain. And the capacity of the brain was created with limitations. There are only a certain amount of things that we can understand. We are told in next week's Torah portion to do whatever we can to get to the end of everything, to know and to knowledge, and never stop probing and never stop thinking and never stop asking. That's next week's portion says it in two different places, when it repeats the Ten Commandments. That's why it's such a great portion to be having a party. It's the Ten Commandments again. But it's a repetition and adds a lot of details that weren't there before. And one of those details, which does not appear the first time, is I'm showing this to you so lada'ata hareta lada'at. I'm showing this to you so you should know. What you see now at Sinai, the great revelation that you are seeing, is a beginning of an understanding for you that there's something much greater, much deeper, much more, much spiritual to your ability, as much as you
Doesn't
can.
it say that man's created in seven of a king?
Yeah.
In God's image?
What does that
So
mean?
I don't kind of clue.
So God's created in man's created in God's image. That means that we have intelligence with which we can create. After I finish saying that we can create. What I mean is that we can innovate. If we have ideas. As I said often over here, your bird out there will never evolve into building a house and say, you know what, this flimsy nest out there, and they're built from leaves and sticks and the wind can blow it out, the rain can blow it out, the monkey can come. Why don't I build a stronger house? So you get real intelligent birds who may evolve into one day thinking, we're going to build a good house.
Well, they don't have hands like we have.
They can build a better structure.
They have to use their
They could evolve, they could evolve it. They can grow it just like the monkeys did, or whoever from the fish came out hands. We decided to get, the birds can decide to grow hands.
And their hands are wings.
Well, then maybe they should grow another pair of legs and they'll have 4 legs. And it'll take 1,000,000 years, but that's why it's absurd, this whole thing of evolution is absurd. Because you don't decide to grow things. You can decide you want to do something. That you can decide. That so the bird can decide it wants to live in the desert and find a way how to survive over there. That's not called evolution. That's not evolution. That's just adaptation. But you want to go to evolve. Okay. Anyway, but if a bird is really smart, it will eventually become a human being. Once it has hands, it can build a house. What's to stop it from building television? And learning how to speak. Tweet. I used to tweet, and now we're tweeting. We're devolving.
We're gonna end up with huge thumbs.
We're going to end up with big nests in the trees.
If they did all that, they would be birds. They'd be
Ow.
humans.
Well, that's what happened to us, isn't it?
That's why we're here.
Oh,
We're
that's
from
why.
birds.
Of course. Okay. So the bottom line is that created in the image of God means different things. It means the spirituality that human beings can achieve, which is much higher than any other animal. It means that we walk on 2 feet. We don't look down. We are faced upwards. There's a lot of meanings of that in the image of God. What is the image of God? There is the Kabbalistic, the Yud-Kei, Vav-Kei on the head, the God's name that's on a human face. There's only one face that sort of resembles a human, and that is the owl that has cheeks and it has things that stick out. Other than, of course, the monkey that some of us resemble. No, that has a certain human resemblance. Anyway, created in the image of God, though, only means, if you want to really expand it, it means basically that we have intelligence and no one else does. Intelligence enough to be able to communicate with words and to be able to ideas, to understand ideas, to create ideas, to innovate, to change this world. So create, anyone can create. A bird can create an egg, which creates you create a nest. What's create? The creation of it is not as important as the image. Being in the image of God means it's expected of us to be godly. And it's expected of us to use our intelligence in proper focus and proper way. Over here we're talking about, in this world, as we are souls in bodies, we are confined. And I touched on this in the Good Shabbos email yesterday, that that a person, the soul falls. That was the idea, was falling. And that this world is considered a fall. And Israel, this land will fall to you, the Torah uses. Because falling is the good description of what happens to the soul. The soul is basking in the Spirit of God. It's in a spiritual haven. There is no evil up there. There is no anger. There is no sadness. There is no bad. It's just pure bliss. And then come down to this world and all of the challenges and obstacles and difficulties, emotions and feelings and survival that is over here. That is it's all challenge. But those challenges are designed for us to somehow bring into our soul an extra measure of strength, so that when it gets up to the world, it gets to a higher level. So because a high level in spiritual world. In other words, our mission in this world is to be confined to the spirit, to the physical realities here, and we don't understand and comprehend as much as a soul can understand and comprehend, because we're not functioning in this world. God does not want us to function in the spiritual world. You should know that in the entire Torah, there is nary a mention. You have to dig deeper to find out about the spiritual world. There's nothing about you're going to die and go to the other world. There's no words like that. You're going to die, oh yeah. But it doesn't say what happens after you die. Even in the prophets and the scriptures, you got to dig. It's not so apparent. Because in Judaism, we're not focused on the other world. We're focused on our world here. Because God wants our soul to function in the physical world. And therefore, we're blocked out. We can't think back to a previous life. Very, very few people can. You have to talk to a great Kabbalist to be able to get you back to where you were before, who you were before. But it's not relevant. If it was relevant, you would know it. You would remember. You would have some kind of of thoughts or ideas. Or something. Some people do. So our mission in this world is not to be knowing what's going on necessarily in the spiritual world. It's hard enough to keep up with this world. And so, to answer that question of how did God get there, you can't answer that question because He doesn't function in the way we function in this physical world, where everything is a beginning and an end. Once you get to the other world, the whole paradigm changes. Everything changes there because you're functioning now not where you have to eat and where you have to sleep and where you have to be in certain places at certain times. None of that exists. It's just a different focus. It's a different function. And the more we do here on this world, the better off we get to the other world. That's where the soul receives its nourishment. The soul doesn't receive its nourishment from the bagels or the cake that we eat, or from the coffee that we drink. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what helps our soul. It just keeps our soul here, but it doesn't help the soul. What nourishes the soul is every mitzvah that we do, every word of Torah that we learn, every penny of tzedakah that we give, every bracha that we make, every mezuzah that we have up, every time we put on tefillin, every time we keep Shabbos. These are the things that give our soul nourishment so that when it gets to the other world, it gets up to a better or higher or stronger level because it's been nourished by the physical act of spiritual activities, which sounds like an oxymoron. So we are spiritual beings in a physical confine. And God does not want us to understand too much about the spiritual world. He wants us to have the quest to try to appreciate as much as we can. So we always focus on the spiritual, but really we are existing in a world. Doesn't matter how great or how holy a person is. You better eat every day. You better sleep every day. If not, you cannot function. It doesn't matter how spiritual a person is. If you don't eat and don't sleep, your soul will not remain homogeneous. That's a sin in and of itself to harm the time of a gift. The Torah says in next week's portion as well. Protect yourself, guard yourself. Your health is important. So, because the longer you function on this earth, the more you can accumulate for the other world. As the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, in the Talmud, it says, "Ha'olam hazeh domeh leprosdor." This world is compared to a antechamber, the hallway. And prepare yourself, get yourself ready in the antechamber for the big hall, which is the other world.
I have a question. In other words, when you go up and your soul goes up
When
there,
who goes up?
your soul?
Me? I'm planning to
No,
stay
no, no.
around here.
When ours,
My 50th birthday celebration was so fun, I would like to have
When
it.
a soul.
when a soul goes up, do they remember
Everything.
from down here?
Not they remember. It's all, it's like
Is
a video. Yeah, it's all in front
It's
of you.
all in there.
Yes, all of your deeds are written down in the book. I wrote about this in the Good Shabbos email about 2 months ago. The book is a reference to that book. It's a book that is in the Yom Kippur, the high holiday liturgy. We say that
It's
the
written.
book is opened on that day, and the signature of every individual is on that
there.
book. And so there's no monkey business there. Over here you can say to a person how great you are, how smart you are, how clever you are, how kind you are. And then you go home and they all bought it. Up there, you're done with the deceit. It is the world of truth. Olam ha'emes is the world of truth. And in Olam ha'emes, we can't get away with any kind of BS. You're not going to fool anybody up there. It's all open. The whole thing is open. It's like an open book.
There's a song about the soul. This is the angels talking to the soul and saying, "Come, it's time to go down." And the soul is saying, "No, I don't want to go down. I see the world. It's
No, I'm
full
very comfortable here.
it's full of evil, and I'm safe and warm here. Why would I go down?" And the angel starts trying to coach the soul and say, "See this? Look at it here. Look how beautiful this is. This one is doing a mitzvah. This one is doing. Look how much you can do." So then the soul.
which you can't do
Which
there.
you can't do
Look
in
at the
heaven.
person wearing a talis and tzitzis and putting on spoon. You can't do that. Lighting
So
Shabbos
then,
candles.
so then the soul says okay, and it goes into a body, and it says the malach taps it in the thing, and it forgets everything, and then,
With the light men in black.
it forgets everything.
I
and
know
then-
I'm a man in black on
and
Shabbos
then
certainly, but I don't know what
many
you're
years
talking
later, the angel comes back, and now it tells the soul, okay, now it's time to go back. And the soul again says, I don't want to go back, there's so much more I can do here. And again, the angel has to coach the soul to say, no, you've accomplished what you needed to accomplish, now it's time to go
Not
back.
you've accomplished. Whatever you wanted to accomplish, it's too late now. You've got to go.
No, whatever, no.
So does it go back?
Then it goes back.
The soul
And it
does
goes
not
back
want
and
to
it
leave.
says it goes back right to a place right by God's throne.
That's how the
It's a beautiful
song ends. It's a fantastic song. I was just listening to it the other day by Mordechai Ben David. It's a fantastic song.
Is it in English too, Ken?
He sings it in English. Come to me,
The purpose-
little Neshama.
The soul has a mission to accomplish. And when that
Beautiful. The
mission
words,
is accomplished,
it has two Hebrew
go
words
back.
in it.
Sounds great.
Come to me,
That's
little
why
Neshama.
some
The angel says.
people-
That's how the song starts. And he says, but dear Malach, dear Malach is an angel. Dear Malach,
So you think,
no,
why do they die?
I don't want to
Because
go.
their mission-
That's how it keeps on. Their phrase is always that way. I don't want to go. And now it's, but I don't want to go. But either place you don't want to go. It's a beautiful song. All right.
Is it on YouTube?
I didn't find it on YouTube.
Okay.
It could be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know what, I can send it to you.
Yeah, that would be
Do I have
nice.
your
Yeah,
email?
that sounds like a
I
nice.
think
No, I
you
have
do.
your
I
email.
think you do.
What is your email?
A.L. Tiger.
Okay, I'll send it to you later.
That'd be nice.
It's a beautiful song. You just have to watch out for some of the Hebrew words may slip you off a
It
little.
says Neshamale,
Yeah, but
that's
that's all.
soul.
Right,
and Malach, which is angel.
You'll get it.
I know most of the, I know.
Right. And the
That
rest
sounds,
is
that sounds
all.
really.
And he says, I can do a mitzvah. Yeah, you know, they throw in some
Nina,
Hebrew
you
words.
want
in. All right. So the world of Atzilus is called emanation and separation because it is an emanation from God, but it's separate at the same time. As stated in Sefer Yetzirah, as it says over there. Now, Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, the book of formation. Look at footnote 23. Sefer Yetzirah is one of the oldest written sources of the Kabbalah, and it is attributed to the patriarch Abraham. It has been the subject of numerous commentaries since it was first published in Mantua, which is in Italy, in the year 1562, which is not too long after the printing presses were founded. Printing presses were established in Italy.
Is that the Jewish 1562?
No, in the year 1562. The Jewish 1562 would be right after the flood.
Yeah.
The flood was in the year 1516. Yeah. No, that's not the Jewish. That's the regular 1562, the general, which was basically it's over 500 years old. The printing presses were founded before then, and the earliest Jewish books are.
They say that it was 35 years after the printing presses were
So some Jews
created, before anything Jewish in terms of books or whatever was printed. I just read an article.
First book. I also was just reading an article. The Rebbe has a library with millions of volumes. A lot of them are rare manuscripts, and he has like the first printing of Haggadah from the end of the 1400s, and it's on display right now there in Brooklyn. The Rebbe has this library that all the Chabad Rebbes had a library, and this was a library that contained all kinds of books, not just Hasidic books and Jewish books. Even they would have had secular books in there, even books that are against. So it's a research type of a library. If you're a researcher, you're a professor, you're a researcher, whatever it is.
Brooklyn.
It's actually
libraries and books.
the shul and the building is 770 Eastern Parkway. 764 next door is the library, and it now is connected by a means of some bridges to the actual building of 770. And they just bought the adjacent house to that. The person passed away a few years ago, and the family sold the house, so now they've just expanded the library to double because they don't have room. They're anticipating millions of more. You can get anything there, really. And they're online as well. It's called the Agudat Hasidic Chabad Library. It's overwhelming of what they have. And there's a staff of librarians there, but it's not a public open library. If you wanted to get something from there, or if you wanted to spend time researching there, you'd have to make an appointment, and you'd have to be legitimate. It's not open for everybody. And the Rebbe has all types of things in that library. He has manuscripts from his predecessors, which are the most precious things of a Hasidic movement, the connection to the past. He also has books that belong, not just that were written by them, but belong to the previous predecessors. He also has in there all the Hasidic books. He also has in there all the general books. And then he also has, in another section, the ancient manuscripts, handwritten Talmud, stuff like that. It's just like priceless stuff. And in many of the Rebbe's talks or his published works, he would go back, he would call on the library to bring me the first print of Rashi, let's say. I mean, he doesn't understand why Rashi has this word. And when you look in the first print, you see that things are somewhat different. And there's a letter here and a letter there, which changes the whole complex of the print. And so for that, scholars need that type of thing, because you're talking about nuances that are so fine that it wouldn't mean anything to anyone, but to a person who's digging down to the meaning behind and the reason behind the commentary did this, said that this is very, very important, very valuable. So he has the first print of Rashi ever. Rashi lived in the 1000s. So 400 or 500 years after he died. But he also has manuscripts, handwritten stuff. And it's like priceless. And the Haggadah, I think, might have been the first book that was printed. It's very small and thin, with all kinds of pictures from all different places, and it's just everything. And Rebbe asked many times for people to give their books that they published, to please give them to the library. And they never paid for a book. And they exchanged it with other books that came from the Chabad system. There was an exchange, but it was never a paid for it. Because once you pay, there's no end to how much you're going to pay. They did pay for the manuscript and stuff like that. Other Hasidim who are collectors and who are into this, they would bring the Rebbe gifts. He'll bring out of Russia all kinds of manuscripts that were lost there or stuck there, books that belonged to the previous Rebbe's that they couldn't get out, and they had commentaries or they had notes on the books, and they would smuggle them out one by one, little by little. They had ways of bringing this stuff out because Russia wouldn't let anything out. They're still fighting over a library that belonged to the previous Rebbe's that they took from Warsaw in the time of the Holocaust, where the previous Rebbe put it into storage, and they went and stole it. They took it to the Lenin Library. It's litigation. There's all kinds of problems going on until today of all of it. It's very, very, to a Hasidic movement, books are considered holy and are considered very special and precious. Anyway, so the Sefer Yetzirah was the book that was authored by Abraham, attributed to Abraham Avinu. Can you imagine that? And it is a very, very, very heavy mystical book. And a lot of it is written sort of in code. You have to really learn it. You have to study. This is the Kabbalah that is hocus pocus focus stuff. It's out of the realm of simply learning. You can't just study it. It's translated into English, but it would be Chinese because it's very, very thick. It's very heavy. So there are sort of, what's there is very concise, and you got to understand what is written there. So one of the lines over there is, in the Sefer Yetzirah, 10 Sefirot without Ma. Esa Sefirot beli Ma. Which sounds like, what kind of statement is that? So look at 24, footnote 24. Without what in Hebrew is beli Ma. 10 Sefirot. The Sefirot, again, are stages within the world, 10 stages within the world, each one of them referring to either an intellectual attribute or an emotional characteristic attribute. So these 10 are beli ma, which literally means Beli mahut, without self-awareness. Beli mahut, without anything. I don't know what. I'm nothing. I'm just a vessel. I can't do it. Before the 10 Sephirot are actualized into Sephirot, before they become vessels to receive the energy of God and to filter out God's energy, they exist within the essence of the Or Ein Sof. We learned about Or Ein Sof in the previous weeks. Ein Sof means no end, which is a reference to God. There's no description, just call it no end. But the Or Ein Sof means the light that emanates or that radiates from the Ein Sof. Now the light that comes out of the sun, as I mentioned before, isn't the sun. Even if when you get very close to the sun, the light that comes from the sun is the light from the sun, but is not the essence of the sun. The essence of the sun is that ball of energy, that ball of fire, that's burning flames all the time. Once you get 100 feet from the sun, if you can get there, if you have the right protection, you are in the light of the sun, you're in the shadow of the sun, you're in the heat of the sun, but you're not in the sun. And that's already a radiance, that's already an emanation that comes out of the sun. Yeah, it's connected to the sun, and if you turn off the sun, that light turns off immediately because it's dependent on the sun. It's connected to the sun, but it's not the sun. So the light of God, which is again not the essence of God, because the essence of God you can't compartmentalize, but the light that comes out of the sun, as soon as it leaves the essence of God, then the light in and of itself does begin to change. It's not the essence anymore. So then things begin there. In a very remote or very hot, if you're in the sun, in a very, very burning hot, if it's 1,000,000 degrees in the sun, then 100 feet from the sun is a million minus a drop. But it's already minus, it's already different. And so when something comes out of God, it's already minus from God. And at that point, things can begin to formulate, not in a real way yet, but in some form. So back to 24. Before the 10 spheres are actualized into Sphirot, they exist within the essence of Or Ein Sof, of the light. Regarding this stage, Sefer Yetzirah describes the 10 Sephirot as without what? In other words, without any self-awareness or substance. They cannot function as vessels. They are not ready to be laser beams because their vessels are too remote, are too just an idea. They're not yet created as anything. So let's look back into the page 26 into the text. 10 Sephirot without ma, like a flame tied to a coal. There is a flame that exists within the coal and one that exists outside of it. The outer flame emanating from the inner flame. This is Atzilut, emanation and separation. In other words, it is not more than a revelation of the concealed. It's not a created being. It doesn't feel like it's created. It feels like it's connected, like a beam of the sun is connected, or the flame of the coal is connected, but it's revealing something that wasn't revealed previously. It's now coming out of its hiding, of its concealment. And here's where you get the vessels of this Sphirot that begin to function as vessels rather than as remote possibilities. This is where the actualization begins. Okay, so that's one way of looking at this world of Atzilut. It's close to God, and yet it reveals that which has been concealed. So it's sort of godly, but not quite as godly as the godly light. It's beginning to be defined. There's a second reason. Number 2, Atzilut also connotes nearness and a proximity. Etzlo, close. Atzilut melashon etzlo, next to him. This means that the emanation and separation of Atzilut, the fact that it's separated and emanated from God, but it's yet separated, remains close to the emanator, blessed be He. It does remain as close as it can possibly be to God. In other words, although it is called an emanation and a separation, that means it's separated from God, this should not be understood as a full-fledged emanation and separation that the human mind imagines it to be, that now something has become separated as a different entity. You can't even feel its roots. Rather, Atzilut is near its emanator, blessed be He. For this reason, Atzilut is called the domain of the individual. Let's look at 26 before you move. Footnote 26, or private domain. The other worlds are considered a public domain, or domain of many, where the exclusivity of God's existence is not apparent, that only God exists. That's not quite apparent because we also exist. The cows also exist. The chickens also exist. And there appear to be many independent entities outside of God. So the world of Atzilut, that is not possible. You feel God, and God is the only thing that is felt in the world of Atzilut. The world of Atzilut obviously is extremely spiritual, holy, pure. It's where the soul of Moses came from, the Ari says. So when you're talking about the greatest in this world, that's where they're coming from. Their souls are rooted. I guarantee you that the Rebbe's soul came straight from there. You're talking about a man who was just completely unmanlike. He wasn't the greatest man. He was like a different type of man. It was the holiness that came out of him, and the leadership and the love, and you would wonder how this person could be even a physical person. It's like so spiritual, so holy. That's what Atzilus is. You see God when you look at that person. Not that the person is God, but that person is so close to God that that's what you would imagine that a physical a person who lives in this world, a human being, who gets so close to God, that's what you would imagine. And anybody who is ever in the Rebbe's presence will say that. His eyes look straight through you, and you prepared something to say. You lost your mind, not because you became crazy, but this was an overwhelming spiritual feeling. Chaim Potter, who grew up in a very religious home, and he wrote The Chosen, wrote these novels. I saw an interview with him right before the Rebbe passed away, within weeks. And they asked him, have you ever been? He said, I was at many Fabrengens, and the Rebbe spoke to me. He said, were you ever privately in his room? Because I was in his room, but never privately, never alone. So they asked him, why weren't you alone? He said, because if I was alone with him, he would have got me. Because he was that powerful. He was his spirit, his holiness was so real that he would have got me. Then I would have lost my perspective. I would have been biased towards him, which really I'm not going to get to that. Let me not bash Potter now, but it's a silly thing to say. He didn't want to change his perspective. When you get older, you're supposed to become more mature and more focused. And if he believed that the Rebbe was this, then you can get a piece of that. What do you need your unbiased for? You lived your unbiased life. Now live a biased life. Anyway, but the bottom line is that you have a soul that comes from such a place that has the ability to envelop you with a spirit of God. And when you left them, you said, I've got to do something spiritual now. I've got to do something holy now. It's empowering because I feel my soul has been touched. That's anybody who went to the most secular person, Shimon Peres or Rabin, and people like from the left side, and all the professors or writers who very left-wing type of people in Israel, wherever. Once they got with him, they were changed. Didn't happen overnight, and you didn't expect it to happen overnight, but you were moved, you were touched. That's Atzilus. You feel the exclusivity of God. You feel that there's something more, and that the only thing is God. And at least when you're in that presence.
I may be spelling this wrong, but Atzilut, isn't that nobility?
A person of Atzili, you call them.
Is this without iron?
No, it's the same word. Yeah, it's the same word. It means exclusive. It means great. Yeah, noble, strong. It's a word that we use. It's a high word. Let's just finish off over here. On page 28, he and his life-giving emanations are one, and he and his causations means what he causes are one. In other words,
Top 28.
in Atzilut, top of 28, in the world of Atzilut, even that which seems to be connected to other things are really connected to God. That's what he's saying over here. So basically what we've learned over here is that this world of Atzilut, 1 and 2, either an emanation of separation or closeness or godly means, that this is a world that has the pinnings of a world, that has all the Sephirot, that has all the vessels, that has everything, but it's really a godly type of world, and you feel only God, exclusivity of God there, and nothing else. You just feel God. And in the next world, which we'll, with God's help, learn next week, we will learn how the world of creation begins. And creation means creating something from nothing. So how could the second level be creating something? The first level is what?
Spiritual.
So creating what? And this, the second world is also spiritual. So what exactly does that mean? That's what we have to wait for next week.
I found a song.
Yay.
Oh.
Wonderful, huh?
Um,
Let's listen to it now.